Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Room of Requirement. My name is Megan, and I have over 25 years of occult and esoteric spiritual practice. And today I want to talk about something really important, healing the soul after trauma, especially doing it through spirituality and mysticism. And so this is a subject that doesn't get talked about a whole lot when someone is on a spiritual journey and they're trying to do shadow work and integration and all of that. So I wanted to touch on this to explain, why you hear in the spiritual community that being on a spiritual path is really difficult, and it's hard because at some point you're going to have to work on these things for progression. So let's just go ahead and jump right in here. So I wanted to start out with a quote that I found. It says, "The struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose," by Morgan Harper Nichols. I have a few others. Wounds won't heal the way you want them to. They heal the way they need to. One day you will tell your story of how you overcame what you went through, and it will become someone else's survival guide. This one really resonates with me. Especially. The last one is, someone who has experienced trauma also has gifts to offer to all of us. In their depth, their knowledge of their universal vulnerability, and their experience of the power of compassion. That was by Sharon Salzberg. So the process of healing spiritually after trauma. For sure, it's an ongoing journey. It's a lifelong journey. I've been doing it for years now, and it hasn't been easy, but it's helped me have a lot of improvement psychologically, emotionally, all of that. In my younger years, I was very explosive with my anger from all the trauma that I suffered, during different periods of my life. And so I'm at a place now where I still get angry, but I don't have that explosive anger that rises up from the depths of me that I used to experience through my spirituality, through my path, through my work, through a lot of research and study, and all of that. So spiritual healing is not a linear process, but rather an ongoing journey. It involves periods of reflection, growth, and sometimes setbacks. Be patient and compassionate with yourself as you navigate this path. Remember, healing spiritually after trauma is a testament to your resilience and capacity for transformation. Understanding trauma and spirituality. Trauma can have a profound impact on a person's spiritual beliefs and practices. It may challenge previously held beliefs or create a sense of disconnection from one's spiritual self. Recognizing the interplay between trauma and spirituality is the first step towards healing. So another aspect to this is spirituality or traditional religion can also have a very traumatic effect on people as well. And so I wanted to bring that point up. I wasn't going to mention this, but I am a mentor, and I have a lot of clients that I work with that suffer from this. And I've seen it time and time again. And through, their spiritual practices and me helping them understand their, having a deeper spiritual practice, self-reflection, introspection, going within, all of these things has really helped them. And I didn't really want to talk about this, and mention this because I didn't want to kind of let everybody know that this is what I do, but I just want to say this is not just something that I'm saying, it's something that I've seen over and over and over and over again, and it's unfortunate. I'm not knocking traditional religion in any way. There are a lot of great things about it, but unfortunately sometimes there's things about it that cause a lot of trauma in people. Okay, psychological awareness leads to self-actualization. So now I'm going to talk about some root causes here. I'm going to talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So what this is It's a psychological theory proposed by Abraham Maslow in 1943. It is often represented as a pyramid with each level of needs building up to the previous one. The hierarchy suggests that people are motivated to fulfill basic needs before moving on to more advanced needs. Understanding this hierarchy can provide insight into human motivation and behavior. So, when you're first starting out and you're working on your trauma, you have to get to the root causes of the problems, and this involves a lot of psychological work. This is just part of you as a whole, spiritually, mind, body, and spirit. I'm going to be doing a video on that later. And this really ties into that video too. So let's talk about the hierarchy of needs. Okay, so here on the bottom rung, and this is where a lot of people get stuck, okay? So we have the physiological needs, which is water, food, shelter, bare necessities, and human survival. Then we have safety, personal security, resources, source of income, structure, and order. And then we have social, which is friendship, intimacy, community, sense of belonging. And then we have esteem, which is dignity, respect, achievement, purpose, and recognition. And then we have self-actualization, which is creation, beauty, unity, aesthetics, and exploration. And there's actually one rung above this, which is transcendence. It's really hard to get to that very top level. But basically what happens generally with people, we get stuck in the first two rungs. And this what is like that really keeps us stuck, because we're so worried about all of our physiological and our safety needs being met that we can't get past all of this, and it like really holds us back, and it sends our mind like in a tailspin, because we're constantly worried about where our next meal is going to come from, how we're going to pay our bills, all of this stuff. And we all know in today's society that this is even bigger problem than it has been in years past. And so this, people get stuck in this material game, and I'm not invalidating what's happening. We've all been there, right? But I just kind of want to explain this hierarchy so that that, getting these needs met so that you can transcend is really important when you're dealing with trauma, because when these things are off balance, it's very traumatic. And if you already have underlying trauma, it's going to compound the problem and make it even worse. I suffered through all of this when I was in my younger years, and it really stunted my spiritual growth because I was so focused on just trying to make it day by day by day. And I know a lot of people are in this situation. Over the years, through a lot of years of self-reflection and shadow work and all of these things, I was able to transcend all of this and bounce in between all of them. And the only thing that kept me grounded enough and stable enough and clear-minded enough was my spirituality and my spiritual practice. And that's why I'm bringing all of this up, because, you can find solace if you are on a spiritual path, and you can get yourself calmer to where these two things on this bottom rung doesn't affect you in such a chaotic way that's uncontrollable, and then causes a whole bunch of myriad of problems after that. Okay, so here are some steps to healing using spirituality. One is acknowledgement and acceptance. So recognize the trauma. Accepting that a traumatic event has occurred is essential. This involves acknowledging the pain and its impact on your spiritual well-being. Embracing vulnerability. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. This can open the door of healing and growth. 2. Reconnect with spiritual practices. Prayer and meditation. Engage in prayer or meditation to find peace and clarity. These practices can help in calming the mind and fostering a sense of connection with the higher power or your inner self. Mindfulness and breathing. Practice mindfulness and deep breathing exercises to stay grounded and present in the moment. Yoga. Stretching the muscles releases pent-up emotion stored in the body. Once I started practicing yoga on a regular basis, my stress reduction went way down. I was able to sleep better, think clearer. All of these things got better. And that's how all the problems that I was having kind of came down a few notches. And then I was able to think clearly enough to get myself out of that situation. I know how hard it is to try and develop a spiritual routine when you are so dysregulated, and then you have a bunch of other myriad of things going on, like mental issues, physical issues, all of these things. But I'm talking about this because I want you to be aware. Like, I understand how hard it is, but this is how, from my personal perspective and my experience, how I got out of that dysregulated system. That's how I was able to get to where I'm at now, was, diving in and going into a spiritual practice. So I'm just the messenger. I'm giving you the information on what can really help end the suffering. And the suffering doesn't really truly end. As long as we're in these human bodies, we're going to continue to suffer. But we can lessen that suffering and deal with it in a more well-rounded way if we have something to rely on. Nature is another good thing, grounding in connection with the divine through beauty and stillness. Understanding the complexities of nature will teach you a lot about life. Read, and read some more, especially books on psychology and spirituality. So the very first one, a psychology book that I picked up was this one right here. Doesn't have a cover or anything on it, but it is Intro to Jung Psychology. This is what kicked it off for me, right here. When I started studying Carl Jung, it completely changed my life. So if you have already studied him, awesome. If you have not, highly recommend looking into Carl Jung's work to help you out with all of this. Okay, steps to healing using spirituality. 3, cultivate gratitude and forgiveness. I understand how hard it is to cultivate gratitude when you're in lack. But the more that you focus on lack, the more you're going to bring it to you. When you chase something, you're actually pushing it farther away. So just find ways to feel the gratitude. It doesn't have to be something grand or some big profound experience, just something small like, I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. I'm grateful that I have a loving family. I'm grateful for this cup of coffee. I'm grateful that someone smiled at me today. It made me feel good. Just whatever that is. Even keep a gratitude journal. I did this for years and years and years on end. And it really helped me get in that right frame of mind. So focus on the positives. And I don't mean toxic positivity either. Okay. You still have to feel what you need to feel and then process it. A lot of, New Age spirituality, they talk about this, you hear this all the time. And what it actually is toxic positivity where, oh, you're thinking a negative thought, turn it into a positive one. Well, that's a lot easier said than done, especially if you're in dire straits. But a simple and effective way to help is to just be grateful for the things that you do have in your life. And then, that will get you into the right mindset, because this can totally shift your perspective on your healing path. Forgiveness. This is a big one. This was a really hard one for me. So work towards forgiving those involved in the trauma, including yourself. And always remember that forgiveness is for you. It's not for them. And this can be a powerful step in releasing the hold of past events. Journaling is wonderful. I've never been a big journaler. I have here and there, but journaling can be fantastic for a lot of people. So write about your experiences and feelings. This can provide insight into how trauma has affected your spiritual beliefs. Also, explore new beliefs. Be open to exploring new spiritual paths or beliefs that resonate with your current state of being. Okay, so research, study, whatever it is that you need to do to get through on your path. Read it, read about it, research it, study it. It's only going to be in your best interest. Okay, so traditional therapy. This is another reason why I wanted to bring up that I'm a mentor. for my full-time job. But what I'm going to say, I don't want it to get taken the wrong way. But I'll just go ahead. So, traditional therapy. I will say that traditional therapy is effective, but it will only take you so far. It's not bad in any way, and it's extremely helpful, especially in certain situations. But in my experience, and I've even been through extensive therapy myself, a more well-rounded approach is including a spiritual practice that fosters self-awareness and acceptance. So understanding the why can only be found within through introspection, finding root causes and assessing solutions to triggers. It's going to help. Self-awareness is gained through meditation and then followed by shadow work. Okay, so I'm going to talk about traditional religion. Absolutely nothing wrong with traditional religion at all whatsoever. It teaches faith and structure and can help with community, but some, not all, religions, they don't foster growth through a personal journey into mysticism or deeper on your spiritual path. And I'm not saying, I know this is kind of like, I'm not wanting this to sound like a really broad statement. I know this is not the case in all senses, but for like your average person that like goes to church once a week and then goes home and does not live any kind of spiritual life at home or has no kind of spiritual routine or practice, it's not really going to get them where they need to be if it's just like a one and done and then they fall right back into the same routines when they get home. That's what I mean by that. Okay. So this, your journey into your deeper spirituality or your path or your mysticism can be more profound and lead to work on the self on a deeper level. So my point is, it's only going to take you so far. You have to be the one to decide, which path that you want to go down to get some more fulfillment out of, what you're already doing. And, therapy and religion is wonderful. It's great. I'm not knocking it whatsoever. I'm just saying if you add on to that and do some more spiritual seeking on your own, it's going to lead to way more profound experiences for you in transformation. I've seen this personally with my clients and students, and I've also seen it for myself and my family as well. Okay, so Carl Jung and shadow work. Okay, so I wanted to give you some Carl Jung quotes. I'm sure you guys have heard many of these, but I just wanted to throw these in there. So these are all quotes by Jung. Everything that irritates us about others can lead to an understanding of ourselves. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Shadow work in the spiritual path. One essential aspect of this journey is shadow work. This practice involves delving into the unconscious parts of our psyche, often referred to as the shadow, to bring about healing, self-awareness, and growth. Understanding shadow work can be transformative, helping individuals integrate all aspects of themselves and move towards a more enlightened state of being. So shadow work is super trendy right now. A lot of people are talking about it. There's shadow work journals out there and all of these. Through my own personal experience, how I do my shadow work is in deep meditation and yin yoga practice. That's where I've made the most progress. I bring it back up. I relive it through all the senses. I smell it, taste it, feel it. I'm there. And then I integrate it. I release it. I relive it. Then I look at it from all angles, my perspective, their perspective, everything. And then I analyze it, and then I release it, forgive, and then I integrate it. And this is where I've healed quite a bit of some really difficult trauma that I've experienced. So look into that. If you guys are interested in me going in depth more on this subject, I will. But I'm not trying not to make this video too long. Okay, so what is shadow work? Shadow work is a psychological and spiritual practice that involves recognizing, understanding, and integrating the parts of ourselves that we tend to ignore or suppress. These aspects, collectively called the shadow, can include emotions, which are anger, jealousy, fear, and sadness that we may have been conditioned to view as negative. So we're talking about the repressed parts of ourselves, right? These are the parts that we shove down because we think they're morally wrong, or someone else might think they're morally wrong. Traits, characteristics, or behaviors we dislike in ourselves or others. Desires, unfulfilled wishes or needs that we feel ashamed of or guilty about. The concept of shadow was popularized by the renowned psychologist Carl Jung, who believed that acknowledging and integrating our shadow is essential for personal development and self-actualization. The importance of shadow work. Shadow work is crucial on the spiritual path for several reasons. 1. Self-awareness. By exploring the shadow, individuals gain a deeper understanding of themselves, leading to greater self-awareness and authenticity. 2. Healing. Acknowledging and accepting the shadow can lead to emotional healing and release of the past traumas and negative patterns. 3. Empowerment. Integrating the shadow allows individuals to harness the energy of these hidden aspects, transforming weaknesses into strengths. 4. Compassion. Understanding our own shadow fosters empathy and compassion towards others as we recognize that everyone has a shadow. How to practice shadow work. 1. Self-reflection. Set aside time for introspection. Journaling can be an effective tool to explore thoughts and emotions. Ask yourself questions like, what traits in others bother me? What am I afraid or ashamed of? What do I feel most defensive about? 2. Embrace vulnerability. Allow yourself to feel and express difficult emotions. This may involve practicing mindfulness, meditation, or speaking with a trusted friend, therapist, or spiritual teacher. Identify patterns. So notice recurring patterns in your life that may be linked to your shadow. This could be repeated conflicts, fears, or self-sabotaging behaviors. 4. Seek guidance. Consider working with a therapist, spiritual teacher, or counselor who is familiar with shadow work. They can provide support and guidance as you navigate this complex process. 5. Practice self-compassion. Be gentle with yourself throughout this journey. Embrace your imperfections and understand that shadow work is a lifelong process. And it's not easy, and that's why a lot of people avoid it, and I don't blame them. You've got to be at a certain level mentally to be able to handle, reliving all this stuff and bringing it up and dealing with it. I realize how hard it is, and I understand why a lot of people avoid it. Acceptance. So the solution is acceptance. Letting the emotion be there. That is, being open to the way things are in each moment without trying to manipulate or change the experience. Without judging it, clinging to it, or pushing it away. The present moment can only be as it is. Trying to change it only frustrates and exhausts you. Acceptance relieves you of this needless extra suffering. In conclusion, shadow work is an integral part of the spiritual path, offering profound insights and opportunities for growth. By bravely exploring the shadow, individuals can achieve greater harmony and balance within themselves, ultimately leading to a more fulfilling and enlightened life. Remember, the journey is as important as the destination, so be patient and compassionate with yourself as you uncover the depths of your being. Okay, guys, thank you for sticking around this long. I really appreciate it. I know this one was a little bit long. I will see you guys next time. Bye.